So I was able to systematically use social media and don't form in congregated groups.
Listen, you don't have to. Yes, I know. Because
I
what
know
they'll
they,
do is they'll
I
send.
know they MO, I know they pattern, I know how they operate, and I've been staying just outside of they uh operating procedure, they SOP,
Mhm.
right? So I already know how they move. So I'm moving right on about their way. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing because we about to take this SOB over, and
Yeah.
ain't nothing they can do about it.
Well, now that there's targets on everybody's back who was trying to cause any sort of like ripple, because that's just basically going to ripple back into their direction. If you
Mm-hmm.
didn't take us out already, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. So now all of the ones that was attacked and the people that was doing the attacking, the people that was doing the attacking, the ones that was the frauds,
Mhm.
they gonna be drug out.
Yeah.
All we gotta do is sit back and watch. We don't gotta do nothing. We the chosen ones. And the reason why we chosen, because we chose ourselves to accept our path to do our work. Don't nobody want to do this shit for real.
Absolutely not.
This is some look, it's when you talking to people, right? I tell them I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Right? I can show it to you, but I can't give you the realization, you know? And I'm fully aware that smart people sound totally bat fucking insane to a dummy. Right. So now we looking at who, okay, so where you fit in the category. Is you the one I explained it to? They want me to understand it for you? I can't understand it for you. Right. Or is you the one that think I'm insane because you a total idiot? Yeah.
I hope someone, yeah. Did you all receive? Okay.
So when we take these responsibilities on, people think this come with glamour like a celebrity. It don't come with none of that.
Not, no. It
This
comes
is
with a
the
lot of it comes with a lot of paranoia, a lot of trying to evade things, trying to, relegate your life around certain types of, what you perceive challenges or attacks.
yeah, like you might be looking at somebody pointing a gun at you, and you tell somebody next to you, he pointing a gun at me. You know, why you think somebody? You always think somebody trying to do something to you.
Exactly.
I'm looking at
Exactly.
him pointing this gun at me. No, you
They have
just
no concept.
paranoid. I'm not paranoid. I know what I'm looking at.
Yeah. And it's the same as someone who sees a craft and one who doesn't. If your perception
Mm.
of reality is higher at a certain grade or hierarchy and someone doesn't see it, they will think that you're insane for seeing something that they're unable to see.
Or if they're gonna come up with a cognitively dissonant
Oh, it's fine.
explanation to
Yeah.
try to explain it away because they
It's your
can't explain it.
contacts. Your contacts are dirty. You fell asleep. You were partying last night. You were drinking some. So now your contacts are foggy. That's why you're seeing the glitz and glitter in the sky. And even, or, you're suffering from like, depression. You broke up with your boyfriend and now you just, delirious. One or the other. Yeah.
That's what Prince say. Let's go crazy. Let's get wild. He had a song called Delirious too.
That's right. That's right. Prince
And he
was,
wasn't just talking.
well, Prince did. I personally think he didn't transition because he was doing telepathic messages years ago, but later on there was someone
He got a
connected.
secondary mansion higher up in the woods in Minnesota, and he ain't coming out to this over with.
What? I know that's right. And he
Michael
said it to
Jackson
people.
got Michael Jackson originally he had out in the Philippines, and then he bought a mansion in I think it was Montana in the woods. And then
Amen.
they tried to send some investigators in there, and his security, he had like a military style security or private military.
Yeah.
And they told him, you're not getting in. And the feds were like, oh, we coming in. And they was like, okay. And they looked up and there was soldiers everywhere. They was like, you know what? We're going to take a rain check on that because we remember
Want
Ruby
a problem?
Ridge.
Yeah.
We remember Ruby Ridge, and they was not as armed as you guys. So
Mm,
they don't want, they know what's going on.
they do. They do.
They
And they
know what's
gave us
going on.
enough. They never, and also they've been they gave us the tools and a lot of the information via their albums, especially the last ones. So if you listen to the last albums with the Rainbow Children, with Prince's last album, he gives a lot of messages, subliminal messages that he gave us to be able to maneuver through these times. Same with Michael Jackson. So big up to Prince, formerly known as Prince, and Michael Jackson. We can't play his songs because they blocked us.
Dude, you know that's Mississippian culture, to put codes in music, to tell messages in music.
I love it. I love it. It's the
I
best
got a song called White Man's World, and he say, they tell me it's the white man I should fear, but it's my own kind doing all the killing here.
Hello. It's the
He's
black
telling
face.
you right there, they look like us, but they not us.
I agree. I
And
agree.
if anybody didn't get it, DMX came right behind him and said they don't know who we be. But that don't mean we don't know each other.
Yeah.
Like
But
I don't know ODB is Chief Crazy Horse.
That's why they lump us all together, and people don't realize it's purposefully done so they can get the agents in there and they can place them strategically around you. They'll sound like you, drink like you. One thing I know, this is what I found out, is because a lot of them aren't rhythmic. That's another something I found out. They're not rhythmic because they're not connected to this terrain. So a lot of them are just non-harmonic. So they'll do things that's off, like things that are not, like you'll look at them, it's like the movement will be off, the way they drink is to be off, the way that they say things or think is off. It's not harmonic. So, because I don't know if they're geoengineered, they could be cloned, they could be syntheticas, or they could just be part of that non-harmonic clan that doesn't come from here.
So, the ones that, like, I got a friend living in Grand Rapids right now named Fadia. Fadia is from the Mindi tribe in Africa.
Mm.
When I was locked up, like, I know all of the guys that's around me is from here. I can tell by, the energy, demeanor, everything. Fadia come walking out the building because they wanted me to meet him. As soon as he came out, I said, "Who that nigga? He ain't one of us." The whole yard stopped and looked at me like, "How you know he ain't from over here?" I said, "That nigga not from America. I don't know where he from, but he ain't from here." So they called him over there. He sat down at the table. We started talking. I said, "Man, where you from? You ain't one of us. You ain't from over here." He said, "No, I'm from Africa."
Yeah.
I said, "You don't talk like no African." He said, "That's because I was raised over here, but my mom and my daddy's from Africa. I'm Mindi from Africa, from Sierra Leone."
Yeah.
I'm sitting there looking at him like, they just shocked that off sight I knew he wasn't one of us.
Well, you can pick up on the frequency and the vibration's totally different.
Yeah. And he kind of turned out to be one of my best friends too.
Good. Yeah.
But
it's good to
we
recognize.
talked a lot because he was curious about how I was able to tell that he wasn't from over here. Because I was the first person that had said it to him. I said, "Man, I know my people wherever I see them at, and I know who ain't one of us."
It's true. It's true. Not everybody, well, they could, maybe they don't say it, but some people may be muted and can't necessarily register it. But if you're with a certain state of awareness, you'll always know when people outside, even if they look like you, they're not connected to you genetically. And I always say to brown people who are suffering from Stockholm syndrome of thinking all brown people are them, I say, does a German think he's a Dutchman? Does a Dutchman think he's a Frenchman? Does a Frenchman think he's from England? Does an Englishman think he's from Norway? No, they're very different. They have different, even if they look alike, they have different genetic coding, different imprints, different vibrations, different cultural bases. The only people that they lump together as brown people, and that's purposefully done so that we keep people in our mix that are our enemies, and that we're never able to really register when an enemy's close to us because they always make them look like us. I always tell people on the line, the biggest and most baddest wolves in my life have always been women of color who look like me. They don't send other women to attack me. They'll only send women that look and have more of a similar phenotype so that I'll be sublimed with being able to register if they're my enemy or not.
Yeah. And occasionally they throw one in that looking like a man. She looking like a man. But anyway, somebody put in the comments, all kinfolk ain't skinfolk. All skinfolk ain't kinfolk. Our ancestors was telling us that for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not just a catchphrase.
No. No,
because the George Washington Challenge said at the end of 200 years, we not going to know them from us and us from them. What side of the water we from and what side of the water they from.
absolutely. That's why it's good to
Right.
know vibration. Vibration, your kin, your vibratory family is your kin. You have to recognize that. And if you aren't able to do it because you're not harmonic enough, you're doing, if you always have disharmony around you, it's going to be hard to recognize an enemy because you're going to be used to that disharmony. So it's always good to have, even if it's one or two people, you don't need to have a posse of people. You just have to have one or two people that are kin
we
energetically.
culturally, we love to be around each other culturally.
We do.
But when this war was waged against us, it made us hate us.
Mhm.
And as Bobby Hemming would say, niggas and flies, niggas and flies. Flies eat shit, niggas tell lies. The more I'm around niggas, the more I like flies. But this goes back to what's really going on in America that most people can't see with the naked eye. You got two groups of melanated beings fighting for America. The ones that's from here and the ones that ain't from here.
That's right. If you
All
notice,
of these
oh, yeah.
high-ranking pink folks is aware of the conflict. So they try to steer clear using racism as they shield
As
to
a
keep
cloak.
that keeps the two different groups that's at war fighting each other in their own community, right? And then they get to reap what they call white privilege of staying out of the conflict.
Yeah.
But white privilege don't answer for poor white trash.
Oh no.
White privilege don't answer for trailer park trash.
There's no such thing as white privilege. That's just a concept.
That's right. But see, that's the ideology used to make us think that we at war with pale faces. But the white man is not pale skinned.
No, it's bait and switch.
Right.
Yes.
But they used to use the pale skins to block the institutions: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, and war, and health, and to dominate us in sex. So by them using that carrot on the stick, we always thinking we fighting pale faces, but it's this nappy head.
It's the brown devils. It's the black
extra
devils.
Dark, yep, black devil standing here telling me, if I was you, I wouldn't let him talk to you like that. You should shoot him. Why should I shoot him when I can just beat his ass?
Yeah. And then walk away and just
yeah. And then if you don't like it, we could fight tomorrow and the next day and the next day. That's how the tribes are.
Yeah.
The warring tribes, we used to box each other. That was how we established our hierarchy amongst our peers, by being able to box. They call it knocking.
Yeah, because my ex from the Bronx, they used to do body. First time I seen it, when you watch males in their true primal state, you'd be like, oh, and they just punch it and they friends. It's like body, and you just have to stay there and grunt. And that was part of just like almost like a call to
initiation.
Like, yeah. So, and I seen that there was no fighting, nobody's mad. They drink at 40s afterwards, so everybody's cool.
I grew up body punching. We used to body punching. We used to grow up body punching. My father called it knocking, because they used to do it when they was teenagers. But what we do is we get our skills up by punching, but no face.
Just
but everything else is open season. Ribs, shoulders, arms, back. All that's open game. Just you can't hit it from the neck up. But by the time you get done getting in a few of them, you're gonna know how to handle yourself.
It's building resiliency, right? Resiliency.
Yeah. And it's teaching you the skills to defense. It's like sparring in the boxing ring. Only you don't got a ring and you don't got no gloves.
That's right. Yeah.
It's same thing.
Yeah.
They do it in all combat sports. They have sparring sessions.
I see that.
You can't develop your skills without a valid competitor on the other side of you pushing you to be better.
That's right.
Exploiting your weaknesses so you can become stronger in the weak places.
But now you have young men who are scared to be hit, and mothers who are saying, don't touch my son, don't hurt him. I don't want him hanging out at your house because he keeps coming back and he's got like bruises, you know. So now we've stopped that kind of primal kind of, I think it's, like training. And it's
It is.
males and females training is different and at different stages of life. And I think
Mhm.
our young men, the training that was done from pubescence to puberty has been stunted based on all the social cueing, feminization of the boys, lowering their resiliency to pain, also, you know what I mean? So it's not the same.
In Cali, they say run that fade.
That's right. That's
Run
right.
that fade. You got a problem with me? Run that fade.
Yeah,
Right. Look, the third chief of the big three was Larry Hoover. He is the one who's
that's
supposed to
right.
give the reports. They call him the chairman of the board for a reason. His job is to report to the public. He's supposed to be reading like the State of the State address that the president give
Mhm.
for the tribes. That's Larry Hoover's function. That's why he locked up. He ain't locked up for nothing he did. He locked up because
Because of status,
COINTELPRO knew who he
because of
was.
status, yeah. And also, from what I heard, and I want to verify this with you, I heard that it's kind of like there was a scene in Malcolm X's movie where they were standing outside the police. I think you know what I'm talking about, the police precinct, and Malcolm X was standing, and they just stand uniformed behind them, right? And yep, and when it was time, he told them to disperse, and they just walked away. And the lunar man was like, no black man should have that much
That
power.
much
From what I
power.
understand, that Larry Hoover was a reference to who he was, as a leader and as someone who had the ability to command, um, his tribal base, but not even that, just multiple different people would have his respect and would come in his command. Because I heard they isolate him because they think he has some form of telepathy that controls the other men. Because every time they let him out amongst the main population, the men of all backgrounds, doesn't matter what it is, literally just gravitate towards him and bend under, not bend, but yield under his command. Is that true?
Well, you got to go back to 1974 when the great LSD treaty was formed, and the Brothers of the Struggle was born.
Okay.
Larry was good friends with Angel Bay Jeff Ford. They've been friends since teenagers. The government keep telling us they sworn enemies. And Larry inherited his spot as Solomon from King David, king of all kings.
Hmm.
The CIA had him murdered through COINTELPRO. And so now they worry now is that one of their children is going to come up and take up that banner,
Mhm, mhm.
right? So they worried about Prince Wakita. They worried about the older Larry Jr. They worried about little Larry, and they worried about King David's son being able to command that influence. But they reserved in commanding that influence because the threat that we under, they can't really organize the younger men like they fathers did because the government involvement in our communities, like let's take King Low from the Four Corner Hustlers, the exact same MO they used to indict and give Jeff Ford all that time, they used the same MO on King Zoe. They sent in a guy to sell him a rocket launcher because he was beefing with the police. The police has been our enemy the whole time.
That their main goal was to, after the so-called emancipation of slaveries, were just basically to be groundsmen to control the Negroes walking around to never make them feel safe or secure.
Right. So they started off as slave patrols.
Exactly.
So what do you do with all of these jobs of slave patrol if you change the system?
Mm.
Remember, they follow something called uniform commercial system. The appearance of legitimacy comes from the wearing of a uniform, right? So
Mhm.
now you got the postmaster general in a uniform, and all of his cronies called mailmen
Mm.
is wearing uniforms.
Mhm.
The gas guy coming to check your gas meter wearing a uniform. Everybody wearing a uniform.
Mhm.
It's to give the illusion of legitimacy straight out of the book The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. You put the shiny objects on their shirt to make them look more important than the rest of the people.
Amplify their purpose and visually.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that gives rise to the psychological study on the obedience to authority. That's a book reference, by the way, called Obedience to Authority.
Mm.
And they found that people would do some stuff under the order of authority that they wouldn't do of their own accord,
That's right.
including murder.
Mm.
Now they got what they call Manchurian candidates, where they bypass the conscious mind using hypnosis based off Dr. Estabrook's hypnosis programs
Right.
to activate a sleeper to commit a crime, and the government hands look clean. Those are called cat's paws.
Mhm.
48 laws of power. Always use a cat's paw,
That's right.
right? The reason being is you don't want us to know that you the enemy. You want us to keep thinking we the enemy. So they villainize the term for tribe as gang.
Mhm.
Gang mean tribe.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then they send in infiltrators in that look like us, but not us,
Absolutely.
to start wars with us, among us. So we fighting each other as warring tribes, and we can't never establish peace because we don't see the enemy in the mix
Well,
because
they
he
create,
look like us.
yeah, they create coups in every single nation. And they did it, the greatest coup, the greatest wonderment of MK Ultra, well, of Manchurian incidents was 9/11, to perpetrate a whole fraud of a narrative based on Arabs are the enemies, in the Middle East as enemies, to be able to have an excuse to go and clear what Israel couldn't do on its own. So it used 9/11 as a front in order to have the excuse and the validation and the support of the American people to go into the Middle East and do the clearing like they're doing today.
So the 9/11 thing was the brainchild of George Herbert Walker Bush,
Mm.
king of the skull and bones community. He was the one who he controls Barack Obama, Bill and Hillary Clinton. He controlled his sons, obviously. He controlled the dude that shot Ronald Reagan.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, that's his illegitimate son, too.
Oh,
Put his picture next to Jeb when he was young, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You can't mistake them for nothing but brothers.
holy cow. I'm going to do that.
The reason why they wanted to get rid of Reagan is because the things that George wanted to do, Reagan wasn't with that.
Wasn't on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. He was really in his interest was to really try to clean up the government and to balance the books. But when he got there, most people don't remember when Reagan was running. It was originally supposed to be a governor out of Michigan as his running mate named Monahan. But on the day at the Republican convention that he announced it, out walks George Herbert Walker Bush.